Despite how amazing this figure is and how badly I want it, nobody seems to buy it. There is only one user picture in my MFC. I have no idea why, seriously. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven, and for today's video, this is an annual tradition of this channel where I will nominate the best figures released in the past 1 year. This time around year 2023, and that is not all. In a couple of days around this Friday noon, I will also nominate the worst figures of the year. So do watch out for that. I think you guys are more looking forward towards the train wrecks of the year because it is entertainment itself, but at the same time, I feel bad for those who end up buying those figures accidentally or unwittingly, you know? Yeah. But anyways, we will focus on the good stuff for today. And before we proceed, I'm going to explain how this all works, right? There are several categories. The first category would be the best overall skill figure of the year, like 1x8, 1x7, 1x6 skill. And there will be top 10 of them. They are not ranked in any order, just that they are the best 10 which I nominated for this year. And on top of that, there are 5 honorary mentions, which I couldn't put them in the top 10. But they are still really good and deserves to be mentioned. And part of the reason why these 5 figures, they are not being in the top 10 might be because, well, it is very newly released and there are no user pictures yet, but still worthy of your attention. So I'm putting them in the honorary mention section. The second section would be the best 1x4 skills of the year, only 1x4, 3 best 1x4 skills, and 3 honorary mentions, right? And then followed by the best low-cost figures of the year, where there are also, was it 3 of them or 5 of them? I think 3 of them, best 3, and on top of that, 2 honorary mentions, yeah. And finally, there is my own best 5 purchases of the year. Yeah, among the figures I reviewed on this channel, the best 5 of the year, the ones that I actually bought myself, right? And also, each figure can only occupy one category. For example, I bought this figure, and it is the best one I bought this year. It won't appear again in the top 10 of the other figures in any sections, you know? Each company will only get one figure nominated. Maybe this company has several really good or really bad figures released in 1 year, but I will only choose one for each company because I'm trying to be objective. I don't want to fanboy over one single company or to attack one single company for those cases where they are making multiple bad products, right? So this is not a ranking of any kind, just my personal nomination on what I think are the best and later on the worst of the year, right? Okay, we will start off with the best 10 skill figures of the year. Before that, let's go through the 5 honorary mentions, right? The first one over here. This is a very new release. Skadi from Arknights 1x7 skill made by Mietos Deluxe Edition specifically. The problem with this figure, why she isn't in the top 10, is because she just came out in late November in China only. Only China exclusive. In the international market, she is not yet out, and we have no idea whether it is out in December already or not, or she has been delayed any further, but this one is out in China in late November, and I could not find any user pictures at all, right? But despite that, this figure is impressive enough to deserve to be mentioned as among the most impressive this year. And for the second reason why I don't regard this as a top 10 despite how amazing this thing looks is because it is starting to look a bit too messy to my liking, right? Like, a figure with a complex diorama base is amazing if they could execute the whole figure to perfection. Let's assume this figure is perfectly painted with no flaws anywhere at all. But I still wouldn't put her in top 10, I think, simply because of this background, this backdrop over here makes the figure looks a bit messy. Yeah, as impressive as she may seem. That's the main reason. Okay, the second one that is in the honorary mention is a very similar figure, Aegir from Azur Lane. This one is 1x7 skill by Egg Toys and Emon Toys. Okay, this one is also out in Japan, right? Out in Japan in November. And supposed to come out in China in December instead, but no news so far, and also once again I couldn't find any user pictures. Yeah, I went through Chinese forums as well, not just the English ones. I couldn't find any user pictures, but she deserves a mention for the same reason why Skadi was mentioned earlier. This thing is insane. This thing is nuts. Would I love to have one? Yes. But at the same time, is this figure considered to be really cluttered or messy? Maybe not as bad as Skadi earlier, right? Because Skadi, she had this lump of object behind her, but at least this one I could tell there are a couple of scorpions and the dragon things behind her. So this one is not as messy as Skadi earlier, but still, because of the lack of information and user pictures, she is not in the top 10, only worthy of a mention. Moving on to the third one, this figure of Mikamo Neru by Max Factory from Blue Archive at 1/7 scale. Oh no, sorry. Spiritiel, not Max Factory, right? This is by Spiritiel and Wing Company. This one is out on 28th of November. So naturally, there are no user pictures yet. This thing just came out literally. But I think she is worth mentioning for being one of the most unique bunny figures out there. There has been so many bunny figures throughout the year, right? But this one is among the more special ones because she has a jacket around her and she is sitting on this stool. I'm not sure if that is a bar stool or even one you'll see at a barber or a salon. It looks something like that, and with rifles, submachine guns hanging off it. Now this is a really interesting combination we have over here, and combined with that tsundere face expression, yeah, I think this one deserves to be mentioned in the top 10 best of the year, at least as an honorary mention rather than being in the top 10, because I can't judge it objectively without user pictures, just that I think she deserves to be mentioned. I did not pre-order this one, but I really want to get one after release. We'll see in January or February. I don't know if the price will drop, however, because this thing is quite popular from what I know, but I'll try to get one for myself because I'm also starting to collect Blue Archive. The fourth honorary mention, Makise Kurisu from Steins Gate by Good Smile Company. Now, some of you may be wondering why this one isn't even the best 10. Some of you may think this is the best 10, and this figure deservingly is so good that so many people bought it. There are only over 160 pictures by users on mygafigurecollection.net. But the thing with this figure is that, to me, she is being overshadowed by another figure of the same company, Good Smile, which will be in the top 10 later. And since I could only choose one figure for each company to be in the top 10, yeah, Makise Kurisu was being pushed out in favor of another figure, which I think deserves to be in the top 10, right? But at least I could afford to put her in the honorary mention section. Yeah. However, this figure, there has been a lot of praises for this one, and I would love to have one, if not for my limited budget. I loved Steins Gate, but she is not perfect. There is a stability issue with this figure where the base is not completely flat. Like, despite you plug in all of the main parts, the computers behind, and the figure is wobbly, and some people find some of the parts to be a bit fragile, but fragile is not a factor to me in judging a figure whether it is good or not, because there are a lot of figures with fragile parts, but the figure is wobbly. So I'm not sure if I could put her in the top 10, but still, this is an excellent purchase if you can find one for a normal price. I think the price has gone up a bit, right? I wasn't checking, but I know this thing is really popular and for a very good reason. Now, let me share with you guys some of these user pictures over here of this figure of Makise Kurisu. Unlike Aegir, Skadi, and Mikamo Neru, there are no user pictures yet. We do have a lot for Makise over here. And the one thing I have always loved Good Smile for is the paintwork over here. See her hair, right? There's this bright brown, and then on top and near the edges, it slowly transitions into very dark brown. This color gradients, I love it. And this is something Good Smile, Alter, and a few other companies are really good at when they paint their figures, not so much for the likes of Kotobukiya, for example. And you can see more shading on her sweater or jacket and also a stocking, right? I love that color gradient over there, but the reason why I think this figure slightly lost out to another Good Smile figure for the top 10 is because I don't think the main figure, the main Makise Kurisu figure is as detailed, but at the same time, I couldn't blame Good Smile for this simply because that is how the character design is, right? Yeah, the main character itself is not a very detailed character, and the figure appears detailed simply because of that stack of retro computer monitors behind her, right? That's the backup provided by the base to make the figure look more impressive than it actually is. It is a good way to make a figure look good though, and as you can see, this is an impressive stack of computers. Oh, 1980s, 1990s computers, they look like this. This is really nice. Okay, and finally, the fifth honorary mention, Ifrit from Arknights. This one is by Good Smile Arts Shanghai. Good Smile's China branch. So they're actually not the same as Good Smile Company, right? Good Smile Arts Shanghai, while they share the same name as the Japanese counterpart, they have their own factory and their own manufacturing line, and in general, their quality is not as good as the main branch of Good Smile Company, but they do still produce good stuff occasionally, right? And this Ifrit is one of them. This is one of those figures where there is nothing much wrong to it. This is the face of the figure, which is pretty accurate to the official artwork and the prototype pictures. And just that the amount of shading work is not as heavy as that Makise Kuisu earlier, mainly because of the character design. You can see it very obviously in her hair, but throughout the main body, the outfit and so on, yeah. I think this is more towards decal work, all those stripes on her outfit, and that flame effect part, I would say it is not the best one I have seen, but at the same time, there is nothing quite wrong with it. Wouldn't it be amazing if there are LEDs inside? Yeah, for the flames to light up, but that is optional to me. I don't turn on the LEDs in my figures anyway if there are any. So with this figure, this is what I call a complete package figure where, how do I put it? You have an attractive figure with an okay pose, some effect parts and a diorama base. And there is nothing quite wrong with the figure, just that it is not the most impressive one out there. And given how complete this figure is, I think she deserves to be mentioned in the honorary mention section at least, right? Okay, and then now we shall move on to the best 10 of the year. They are not ranked in any order, remember that? Okay, the first one. Yeah, Chinese brands, they are absolutely smashing it this year, really. They are really doing really well. And in this top 10 section, I think there are 3 or 4 of them out of top 10 which are Chinese brands, which speaks a lot of how good they have gotten. The first one, we have Apex Toys Chen from Arknights, right? I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Okay, this is an Arknights figure which I have always wanted, but once again budget got in the way. Like, there are only so many figures I could get in 1 year, and I have not yet started buying any Arknights stuff yet. Will this be the first one? I'm not sure, but I hope I will be able to pick up one. I'm not in a hurry because Arknights stuff, Apex Toys stuff, they don't usually become rare. If it is difficult to find in the Japanese websites, just head to Taobao and find it in China. You come across one easily. Now, Apex Toys rarely does anything wrong nowadays, right? And this figure, the impressive part about it is that it is almost like an exact replica from what we saw in the official product pictures. Like, between prototype to final product, there is barely any difference, right? This is amazing indeed. The face is really precise, really accurate, not to mention this color combination, blue and red, it really stands out. Also, this figure is what I consider as a complete package. Like, you have a main figure with an attractive pose, you have diorama base, and the whole package, this is debatable, I suppose, whether she takes up too much space, but I don't think she takes up as much space. So, a complete package with nothing wrong at all. And among all of the Apex Toys figures released this year, I went through every single figure they released this year. Yeah, I think this one is the best. I mean, look at this dragon ornament over here. Ooh. Not only they focus on the main figure, even the props on the side of the figure, they did everything with precision. The paintwork is sublime over here. There really is no faults at all, no matter how hard I find. The second one would be from Amakuni Meido Busso Javelin. An original character came out in early December, very recently, for 31,000 yen. Very expensive, but I assure you, if you like the character design on this one, it is worth every penny. And also, out of all of the figures Amakuni released this year, I think this one is the most impressive one yet. Now, I do apologize if I had to censor some parts of the figure because YouTube's algorithm is... yeah, it is actually finding faults with anime figures, right? Okay, so with user pictures over here, we don't have many, but look at the leg over here, the details on the mecha part. Ooh. This is totally my kind of thing. I love this so much. All this mecha stuff, and they painted it to precision, no issues whatsoever, and look at those ties over there. Ooh. And then we take a look at her face. Yeah, I can only show you her face because, you know, her bust is pretty big, not to mention this figure is cast-offable to a certain extent. Just that the only single weakness of this figure is the base, which is normal to Amakuni. Amakuni always put like 100% effort on the main figure and then they overlook the base. They just give you a plain plastic disc base. I think this applies to every Amakuni figure, which is a bit unfortunate. However, the approach of making sure the main figure is perfect and cutting cost on the base so that, you know, customers don't have to pay too much is not necessarily the wrong approach. And here is a third picture of this figure. Oh, I love her face so much, man. Oh, and those red highlights in her hair and all those mecha bits. This is amazing. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the third one. Yes, this is the Good Smile Company figure that got my nomination for the best of the year. Hosho Marine from Hololive. Yeah, deservingly so. This figure, there is nothing quite wrong with it. Maybe other than some people having difficulty with plugging or assembling the figure, which is no different from many Good Smile figures. There are so many Good Smile figures, especially the big and complex one, which are quite difficult to put together, right? The paintwork on this Hosho Marine is just fabulous. Not to mention, I have seen this figure in person several times in anime conventions. Like the store, they actually display it for everyone to see, an actual unit. And see the paintwork on the red color areas of her outfits, her hair, everything. Oh, it is amazing. And between this figure of Marine compared to that Makise Kurisu figure earlier, the difference between the two is that Makise Kurisu is a simple figure, simple character, depending on an outstanding base to stand out. Marine is not the case. Marine, the main figure, is already really good. The main figure is better than Makise Kurisu, and she does not rely on the base to stand out. The base, which is also sort of a diorama down here, is just an icing on the cake. And for that very reason alone, I'm picking Hosho Marine over Makise Kurisu as the best of the year. The main figure is better in this one. Alright, moving on to the next figure in the best 10 of the year. Maybe some of you were not quite expecting this figure, but I assure you this figure over here is probably best 5, not best 10 in this list. It is that good. And because this is an original character, maybe a lot of you overlooked it, like I'm not into sci-fi, so I ignored her. But seriously, this thing is next level. This figure of Fiona Full Moon by Vertex is extremely expensive, 40,000 yen, but once you see the actual photos of the product, you'll be blown away. I'm going to show you guys over here some user pictures. Okay, the face, perfect, nothing wrong with the face, but more importantly, you look at the details on her body. You know the turquoise teal color bodysuit, that is actually translucent. You can see the skin and her body underneath it. Those are translucent parts covered by black color parts, and you can remove those parts and display her as casted off. Yeah, this figure is cast offable partially. And then pretty much you look at every single mecha part on this figure, there are no faults to be found. Like, man, look at this. Do you see any error or inconsistency in the paintwork? None at all, nothing. Now, I really wish I could purchase this figure, but 40,000 yen is a lot of money. I should be cutting down on the number of FGO figures I buy and go for masterpieces like this. This is an absolute work of art. More pictures, look at this, man. Ooh. This figure is next level. I kid you not. Like, I was so blown away when I saw these pictures posted by users. Like, I wondered myself, why didn't I purchase this thing? I should be buying this instead of sucking up to FGO over time, right? More pictures. You see, I have selected so many pictures because of how good this thing is. Now, this looks like professional work coming from a professional Gunpla modeler. And you look at every single minor detail, the gold color trims, the fluorescent green parts. Do you see any paint bleeding? No, everything is painted to precision. No ugly gaps or seam lines. You see, right? This screw right up here around her waist. You can see the metal colored hexagonal part, and then the screw in the middle is gold color. Everything is painted to precision. This is incredible coming from Vertex, and Vertex is the kind of figure company which I think many people are underestimating or overlooking, but to me they are among the very best out there. And the only reason why they are not as popular as the rest, like Good Smile, Max Factory and so on, is because they make less mainstream stuff, right? But don't sleep on them, right, Vertex? Okay, the next one, Alter. Okay, with Alter, why did not I pick any of the Azur Lane figures, right? Like, Alter releases so many Azur Lane figures for the rest of the year, for the entire year. And every single one of them are really well made, but because they made so many Azur Lane figures in the first place, you get to compare. Like, this Azur Lane figure they released this year, yeah, kind of cool, kind of nice, but they are not as good as some of the other figures they released last year. For example, like those figures came out last year, like Prince Eugen, they came out last year, just that they are getting a re-release. But you get to compare, even though those figures are irrelevant for this year. We're looking at figures on this year alone. And for that reason, I couldn't pick any Azur Lane figures for being the best of the year. To me, this figure of Serizawa Asahi from Idolmaster Shiny Colors stands out above every single other Alter figure that came out this year, right? This thing, she is standing or leaning on top of a traffic light, traffic stop of some kind. This is something really new. I don't think there are many other figures out there which has traffic light stops like this. I know Fats Company has one, I think. I can't remember which character. But this overall setup with extreme amount of details on top of a figure set up in such a unique way. This is something very different from every other figure that Alter made. And not only that, they executed this figure to perfection. See, every single detail, they got the paintwork done correctly. And all I see are praises in the comment section of this figure over here. And so with the complexity of this figure in mind, and yet Alter did not screw up in any way, I am giving this figure of Serizawa Asahi as the best figure of the year, like top 10 best of the year among all Alter figures. It is quite unfortunate that the owner of this photo used some weird color lights and we don't get to see the proper color of this figure. We do have one over here, but this image, the quality isn't as good. The face is perfect and all those details. I don't collect Idolmaster anymore. I don't collect Idol stuff in general anymore. Otherwise, this figure would be very high on my want list for sure. Yeah. Up next, Chinese brand Astrum Design. Now this is a relatively simple figure and you may wonder why is this one even worth being mentioned in the top 10, right? Alex Deborah Vasilevich sounds Russian, but anyway, I think I will let the photos do all the talking. This figure is going for 24,000 yen, but if you buy it in China on Taobao, you can get one for under 20,000 yen easily. And that is the main reason why I'm giving this figure a spot in the top 10 of the year. Because for the price you're paying for this thing, this figure is quite exceptional in many ways. Okay, this photo by Akatsuki 2022. Let's enlarge it, right? Okay. This is like a perfect replica as well of the original artwork. Like, there is nothing wrong with it. This cyberpunk feel over there with the goggles and the raincoat, or is it a jacket that is translucent? I think this photo is not showing us the full detail and the full colors of this figure over here because yeah, this is photographed in a rather artistic way. It doesn't really show us the real colors of this figure. But, you know, this figure is outstanding. And for under 20,000 yen, if you can get her for at this price, buy one. If you are the kind of figure collector that collects and goes for original art characters, I would even go as far to say this figure is a must-have. Yeah. It is one of those figures I can say that something really simple, so you shouldn't screw up. And yeah, they did not. They executed it to perfection. I think this is something even many Japanese figure companies are unable to achieve nowadays. Like, even a simple figure, they couldn't get it right, and then they keep jacking up the price and increasing the complexity of the stuff they make. I think Fat Company is an excellent example on that, and I'm going to diss them so much in this Friday's video on the worst figures of the year. Yeah. The next one in the top 10, also a Chinese brand, Lovely Project 1/6 scale Lume. Now, a lot of people praised this figure when they bought it. Like, we don't know anything about Lovely Project, but we gave them a chance anyway, and this figure was a pleasant surprise in so many ways. Yeah, the official price may seem really expensive, 27,000 yen for the standard version, 29,000 yen for the deluxe version, which you are getting a wall scroll, but for this price, you're getting almost two entire figures, you see. The normal version and also a casted off nude version, right? So almost two figures for 27,000 yen is an absolute bargain, given that this figure was executed to perfection, from the face expression to the pose, like once again, a 100% exact replica of the original artwork. I do apologize for the censorship, but I mean, just look at the face of this figure, the paintwork, the hair, everything. This thing is amazing. And you just look at the amount of photos uploaded by users in MFC for this one figure. A lot of people purchase it, and I think that speaks for itself how good this figure is. This may appear to be a simple bunny figure at first glance, but it is more than that, you see. I would even go as far to say this is among the best bunny outfit figures of the year. The next figure in the top 10, finally have something from FGO. To be honest with you guys, the FGO figures that were released this year, a lot of them are very competent stuff, fairly solid. Just that they are just not at the level of most of the figures I just covered in today's video. They are really good, just that not the absolute best out there. But one figure did make it to this top 10 list, and it has to be KD Cole and Kadokawa's Karma from FGO. Now, this figure is stupidly expensive. It is around 34,000 yen. And I just couldn't justify paying 34,000 yen for this figure of Karma. But if the price ever falls to around 27k, yeah, I might pick one up. More like, I will absolutely buy this figure, and the only reason why I haven't bought one yet is because I'm waiting for bargains, I'm waiting for a small discount, at least for the discount to be sufficient to cover my shipping cost, right? Because shipping is atrociously expensive nowadays. Now we go for some user pictures. Look at that. Oh, I am a sucker for details, so when I see something like this, how could I say no, even more so as a big fan of FGO? This is a must buy for FGO fans. Like, my impression of Kadokawa and KD Cole as a figure brand, to me, they are just average B tier stuff, right? And this figure, while there are not many weathering going on with this figure, like the hair, there is a very subtle shading, but not much really. I think everything else makes up for it. The sheer amount of details where they, from the original artwork into a 3D object, the execution is perfect over here, and there is nothing wrong with the face at all. Maybe I'm just being stingy, you see. This level of detail and this one huge object behind her for 34,000 yen, when I think about it, it is not that expensive, but because I am a cheapskate of some kind, I'm always looking for bargains. I'll wait for a while before buying one, right? Yeah, that metal rod is unfortunate, but it can't be helped in this case because that is a floating part, a levitation part. And with the figure in front, from many angles, you can't really see that metal rod anyway. Yeah. So I do think at this amount of intricacy and detail, she does deserve a spot in the top 10 best this year. The next one in the top 10 best, Toga Himiko by Spiritil at 1/7 skill. This one is going for 25,000 yen, came out way back in January, right? Now, BNHA and even more so Toga Himiko, there has been so many figures of her spammed into oblivion just like Ram and Ram. And out of over 100 Toga Himiko figures by now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like there are 100 of them. This is my favorite figure of Toga Himiko, and she happens to come out this year in 2023. Well, there are not many figure brands that could get her face done wrong. I think every figure brand gets her face done right anyway. And with this figure, the shading is really subtle. It is not that obvious compared to Good Smiles figures, but with that chain and also that amazing base at the bottom, which some of you are not a fan of it, right? I still prefer this figure of Toga Himiko over the rest. Simply for the amount of junk she is sitting on, and that base over there, right? Every single object, there are so many different colors, yet Spiritil tried to shade in the paintwork on every single one of them. It is not very obvious in this photo over here, but there is a very gentle amount of gradient in the paintwork. I can see it in this picture. Yeah, and the stockings as well. So this is one of those, how do I put it? Similar to Makise Kuisu situation where the main figure itself is nothing too special, but the base elevates the figure to the next level. So with this figure, and given that this is my favorite Toga Himiko figure, I'm putting her in the top 10 best for this year. Okay, and then the next top 10 best of the year, I think this is the last one, right? Yeah, the last best 10 figure of the year, Hobby Max and Tokyo figure, Amiya Fresh Fastener version Deluxe Edition. Okay, this is a figure I almost bought one back during the November 11th Singles Day sale, but in the end, I did not buy one because I had to prioritize which one to get first, you know. Hobby Max is also, is it a Chinese brand? I'm not too sure. Tokyo figure, I mean Tokyo, right? Japanese. Hobby Sakura is the Chinese one. Not Hobby Max. Hobby Sakura is the Chinese brand. Okay? Okay, so this figure of Amiya, to me, this is the best Amiya figure out there, right? With this figure, it is really simple. This one is going for 25,000 yen, and you can get her for less in Taobao actually. You're getting an electric scooter and a really detailed figure. What else can you ask for? Nowadays, if you ask any Japanese company to put a motorcycle or any vehicle in a figure, it will start with 30,000 yen and up, right? This thing is exceptional value. And this figure, there is nothing quite wrong with it. Unfortunately, despite how amazing this figure is and how badly I want it, nobody seems to buy it. There is only one user picture in my MFC. I have no idea why. Seriously, this figure came out a few months ago already, and this is the one user pic we have on MFC. Looks great. And you look at the gradient paintwork on that huge fluffy pillow thing she is hugging on the side, as well as all the blue color shading on her sweater or jacket over here. The skirt as well, the very edges can see dark blue. This is an incredible Arknight figure. Why is nobody buying it? Come on, you guys are missing out on something amazing over here. It is such a shame because this thing is so good that I even put her in the top 10 because I think she deserves it. The red color scarf, gradients work again, the hair as well. Whew. I'm gonna get one someday. I don't know when. I really don't know when, but I hope I'll be able to purchase one someday, right? And yeah, that is all for the first section. Best 10 skill figures of the year with 5 special mentions. Okay, we move on to the next section. 1x4 skills, right? Now, 1x4 skill, we are going to have some X-rated stuff. So once again, I have to partially censor the figures. The first one would be Caroline Yuri 10th Barney version by Binding and Native. This is a special mention, not the top 3 yet. And, well, I could have made this into a top 6 best 1x4 skill, but instead I'm calling this a best 3 with 3 special mentions because the same figure brand is going to appear again in the top 3 and I could only nominate one figure from each brand, which is why I consider this to be a special mention. The fair skin version of this figure came out back in year 2022, I think, late 2022, and that figure was really popular. A lot of people loved her. There were even reviews on YouTube, I think. And now that they repainted this figure as a new figure for year 2023 in tanned skin with a hot pink outfit color, I think this combination of color works really well. The figure is really attractive despite that very pink outfit, and they could do no wrong with the face of this figure at all. The face is still really sweet even with a tanned skin. So in my opinion, if you missed out on the fair skin version and you are on the edge on whether to get the tanned version, I would say go ahead and get it. You won't regret it unless you don't like dark skinned characters. And naturally with figures by binding, this is cast-offable. So this is a good buy. The second one, which is in the the second figure in a special mention, well, this is just a bunny girl at 1/4 scale. Let's face it, it is just a bunny girl. Pink Twin-tail Bunny-chan, 1/4 scale by Otherwear, which is actually a Chinese brand, and I have no idea why they call themselves Otherwear. Sounds like underwear to me, but this really is just a bunny figure and not really unique in any way, and the main reason why I'm putting her in special mention is because this figure is not a re-release of an older product. It is an entirely new sculpt, new mold, yet she cost only 33,000 yen. And for the price you're paying for, which is the same amount as that FGO Karma figure earlier at 34,000 yen, you get 1/4 scale, and the face on this figure of Pink Twin-tail Bunny-chan is exquisite. I love the face and that slight blush over there. They got the face done on this figure really right. And I would rather you pick up this figure over any other generic 1/4 scale bunny girls by Freeing, right? This is worth mentioning for the amount of value you're getting out of 33,000 yen at 1/4 scale. Moving on to the third special mention. By Freeing, we have the world's speediest bunny waitress version, which is okay, this is Shimakaze by Freeing and Union Creative. Union Creative is just the distributor, I think. Freeing made this figure. Okay, so this one is in my special mention because there is a better 1/4 scale by Freeing that made it into the top 3 later on. Okay, and with this figure, the reason why she is not the best of the year, just a honorary mention, is because this figure is not exactly perfect. Like, the craftsmanship on this figure of Shimakaze for once it is actually really good, right? Compared to many other Freeing figures which often had QC control issues, right? They have quality issues. This Shimakaze is fairly well made, and it is not a classic bunny girl figure, which is mainly why she made it into a special mention. And also she is sitting on a bar stool. But this figure has the notorious reputation of falling off from a bar stool very easily despite a magnetic connection, and some people broke this figure because they knocked the figure off the bar stool. And it is for this one single weakness where the figure it will fall off easily. For this one single reason alone, she did not make it into the top 3 best. But if you could look if you can put that aside, the fact that this figure can fall off very easily, you put her in a detolf, in a covered cabinet, then this is a really good figure to have for those of you who collect 1/4 scale. Certainly one of the better ones of the year. Right, let's have a look, close-up look. You see the paintwork on this figure, the sculpt and the paintwork on the hair is quite nice on this one. Freeing can be really inconsistent. Some of their figures, the hair is really terrible, right? But for this one, not really the case. Yeah, this is a really good buy. Moving on to the best 3 of the year. You know, it was really difficult for me to decide whether to include this figure of Taiho by Mimeyoi into the top 3 because I have mixed feelings with this figure, to be honest, right? This figure deservingly should get a lot of praise because she looks stunning. I've seen this figure in person before, and she has quite the presence in anyone's collection, despite one flaw on this figure which I myself could not get over. I almost purchased this figure at one point, But now that I've seen this flaw, I'm not too sure anymore. I do think she still deserves to be purchased if I could get her for a discount. That is what I think over here. And the flaw I'm talking about this figure, yeah, if you watched my figure news fix before, you know the answer. The mouth, right? It looks like she has bunny teeth like this. Yeah, it looks like an overjet to me. And being a dentist, I just couldn't get over that teeth sticking out like that. But one could say that this is something you won't notice until you look very close up at the figure. If you look at this figure from a distance, this thing is quite a sight to behold. So despite me not liking this figure's mouth, this thing stands out enough, special enough, unique enough to be nominated as being top 3 best of the year. See, I'm trying to be objective over here, despite me not being a big fan of the face of this figure. I'm still willing to consider it for a discount, really. The second figure to make it in the top 3 best 1x4 scale would be this figure by Binding and Native, Hatsume no Subone from Senran Princess G. This thing is good. Yeah, X-rated of course, and I think she is almost 40,000 yen, right? Okay, with this figure, I mean, I went through every single 1x4 scales made by Binding this year, and simply put, this one is my favorite. Not just because of the missionary pose, but I think the face, the expression, and the cast of parts down to the secret garden down there, everything is executed to perfection. Now, I can only show you guys this one picture over here because this is the safest one and I'm putting extra emphasis on the face. So, Binding has made a lot of excellent 1x4 skills this year. They did not screw up as much as they did last year, but simply put, out of every single one of them, including the pose, factoring in the face and everything else, I think this one is my personal favorite. That is it. Whether this is objective enough, I'm not sure because I don't really buy Binding stuff that much, right? And not to mention, half of Binding's 1x4 scale figures are still bunny girls, just that they are cast of herbal. And this one, for being a bit different and for the pose and a perfectly executed face, I'm nominating this one as the best 1x4 scale of the year. Just that I wish that there is a bit more gradient and shading in her hair at least. Yeah. And the last figure to make it into the best 3 of the year for 1x4 scales, I think you guys saw this coming, right? X10, original character from Free. Yeah, sounds like Freedom Gundam to me. You check out the serial number of Freedom Gundam, or the model number to be exact, ZGMFX10A. Okay. Why is this in the best 3? I think you guys can see it why by now, given how much disdain, how much dislike I have for the sheer amount of bunny figures out there. Well, this is also a bunny figure in some way, except that this is very different from the rest, and she comes with, oh, that face expression and that blindfold. I just call it blindfold. The face expression, that is a huge point over there. And then she has this sword next to her, katana I think. And the outfit, of course, this is not your typical bunny outfit, right? Now, this photo is amazing. I did not see who took this photo. This is an amazing photo of this figure, and it shows you how this 1x4 scale figure of X10 deserves to be in your collection if you collect 1x4s. Do you have any idea how easy it was to pick the best 3 1x4 scale figures compared to the 1x8, 1x7 scales? It was really easy because Free released 70 1x4 scales this year, exactly 70. And it was down to 2 or 3 figures only. One was Shimakaze, this was one of them, and everything else, they were just bunny girls, right? I think the third one which I was considering to special mention it was Kanu Unjo. I loved that Kanu Unjo so much, the pose and everything, but in the end that was just a bunny girl figure, so I left her out, and this X10 deserves to be the best 1x4 scale of the year, top 3 best. Look at that. Ooh. It is all this extra bit of details, right, that makes this figure better than other bunny girls this year. I have a few friends who bought this figure, and man, this is an excellent purchase by all means. And that is all for 1x4 skills. We shall move on to the next section, which is the best affordable figures of the year. This does not include price figures, right? When I say affordable skill figures, well, I don't have a specific definition. For example, if you say 1x6 skill for 8,000 yen, then I do think that is affordable. If you are telling me 1x4 skill for 10,000 yen, yes, that is affordable. If you tell me 1x8 skill, like Kotobukiya Art FXJ for 15 or 16,000 yen, I don't think that makes the cut, right? So we are looking more into Tenitol or pop-up rate L. Yeah, 1x7 skill, 5,000 yen to 8,000 yen category. I mean the price range, right? So I don't have an exact definition for what is considered as affordable, but at the same time, yeah, they have to be great value. That's the most important part, and they are not price figures. Okay, so now we shall move on to best affordable figures of the year. Okay, this is a special mention. I think we have 3 special mentions and the best 3 as well, just like 1x4 skills. The first one would be Pop-Up Parade Hatsune Miku Vampire version L. This is an L size, not a normal Pop-Up Parade. So she goes for around 7,500 to 8,000 yen. She fell short of another Pop-Up Parade L figure for being the best of the year simply because the pose on this one is a bit simple. Too simple. But outside of that, there is nothing quite wrong with this Hatsune Miku figure. A 1x7 skill, you pay like under 8,000 yen for this one. If you are a Miku collector, I would say this is a must-have, even though this looks like Toga Himiko from BNHA cosplaying as Miku. This is what it feels like to me, right? This is Toga Himiko. This is not Miku. You see the face on this thing is so well executed. The paintwork around her mouth, precision work is there, right? Dark pink around her cheeks, and then light pink for the tongue, white color for the teeth. This is really precise paintwork, unlike many of the normal pop-up parades that go for 4,000 yen where they often mess up the mouth region. This is not the case over here, and because they got the face done so right on this Miku figure, yeah, she deserves to be in a special mention, just that her outfits and everywhere else, yeah, everything else are fairly pedestrian in comparison, nothing special. The next one to be in a special mention, you see, Furio's Tenitol series offer a lot of great value, and from the looks of it, their figures appear to be better than pop-up parades. Yes, for the same price, 5,000, 6,000 yen range, they are better than pop-up parades. Unfortunately for this Hakure Reimu figure over here, nobody in MFC bought it seriously because there are no user pictures. I found her pictures in Reddit, right? And I'm going to share it with you guys. This figure of Reimu lost out to another Tenitol figure, which made it into the top 3 simply because of the pose. The pose on this one is fairly simple, like nothing much going on. She is just standing there. Otherwise, this is almost as good as the best 3 of the year, right? Now, we have a Reddit post over here where a user is sharing the pictures. Okay, so this is pretty good for a 5,000-6,000 yen figure, right? This is excellent indeed. And even the back of the figure, I don't think that they did any shading work on the hair of this figure, but it almost looks like they did simply because of the depth of the sculpt of the hair. Yeah, the craftsmanship on the hair of this thing is quite good. It is really good, and see how much bigger it is than a pop-up parade. See, this figure of Reimu made pop-up parade look like a joke in comparison. She deserves to be in a special mention, at least. I guess you guys would agree with me, right? Now, after seeing this picture, some of you might go out and buy one. Yeah, please go and buy one. I'm not sure how much this figure is worth, but if her value has gone up to 7,000 or 8,000 yen, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Okay, moving on to the third one. Oh, there are only 2 special mentions. I thought there were 3. There are only 2 special mentions. The next 3 figures, they are the best affordable figures of this year, 2023. The first one, the first low-cost figure in the top 3 of the year, Shinjo Akane Pop-Up Weight L by Good Smile. This one is from the Gridman universe. I'm not sure if you guys find this nomination to be surprising, but out of all of the Pop-Up Weight figures released this year, like, you know, the standard Pop-Up Weights 4 or 5,000 yen, they're not going to win anything because they are very mid and some of them are worse than even price figures. But among the L series and the XL series, I deem the XL series to be really bad value in general. Like, yeah, they are 20,000 yen, they are cheaper than freeing stuff, but still, I would rather you buy higher quality 1x6 scale figures from Chinese brands for the same cost. But this pop-up grade L over here, which is about 1x7 scale, offers the best balance between value and quality, right? And I think this Shinjo Akane is the best one of the year. I think this picture will tell you enough. Between this one and that Miku earlier, maybe some of you will say Miku is better, some of you will say Shinjo Akane is better. I had a hard time deciding which is better, but because of the outfit of this Shinjo Akane figure being a bit more detailed, a lot more different parts, and Good Smile did not mess up the paintwork from the looks of it, yeah, I'm putting this Shinjo Akane ahead of Hatsune Miku earlier for being top 3 best affordable figure of the year. Right, all those gold color trims, it seemed like they did a fine work on this one. Just that, you see, the hair over here is a bit rough. These few hair strands down here, yeah, it is a bit rough over there, but nothing too serious. Yeah, so this figure of Shinjo Akane, I think she is quite attractive too. Like the combination of purple and gold color theory, warm versus cold, it made this figure really stands out in some way. So this one is a good buy if you're looking to pick up a pop-up rate. Here we do have a second picture. We take a look at her legs too. Yeah, the gold color trim around her stockings, they are painted with precision as well. I don't see any major issues. Around her skirt, yeah, around her skirt I see a little bit of paint bleeding, but isn't that true for every pop-up rate figure, right? So minor issues here and there, but this is not a bad purchase if you're looking at her. Moving on to the second one for the best affordable figure of the year, we have Little Demon Lilith, 1x6 scale by Animaster. This thing is 1x6 scale, really tall. She is 28 centimeters. Yeah, really tall, and she goes for 5,200 yen only. Right? Now with this figure, everywhere else, her outfit, her body, everything else, this screams price figure quality. But at the same time, she is 1x6 scale for one. And second thing, look at those eyes. Oh, those eyes are really attractive. They are really shiny for some reason. I have no idea what kind of decals they are using for the eyes, but this is really attractive. Just that at this price point, don't expect any shading on the paintwork. Like you see, her hair is just flat white. You don't see any gradients at the very ends, the very edges of the hair, which is to be expected at this price point. Still, despite the simplicity and price figure quality of this figure, simply for the face alone, right, and those eyes, I don't think this one deserves to be in the top 3 best affordable figure of the year. And I love this trend of Chinese figure brands pushing out figures like this for a really low price. Next year, things are about to heat up. Next year, things will be a lot more competitive, where we have Bear Panda, for example, pushing out 1x4 scales for 10,000 yen only. So next year, I think will be a lot harder to choose the best 3 or best 5 affordable figure of the year compared to this year. This is only the first affordable figure by Animaster for this year. We have a lot more coming out in next year, right? The thing of this figure is that because her hair is casting shadows on her eyes, sometimes she can look rather dead. Like for this picture over here, right? Yeah, you can barely see anything in her eyes because the hair is casting shadows. But if you look at the close-up pictures of this figure and her eyes are amazing. Yeah. And lastly, the third one. From Tenitol and Furio, we have Hoshikawa Sara from Niji Sanji. Right, I had a hard time choosing between this figure of Sora with that Reimu earlier, but in the end, this one won the best one of the year simply because of the pose, right? Reimu was just standing there doing nothing like that, and then this one we have a really cute C pose with this figure of Sora, not to mention, yeah, they did a great work with this figure of Sora, so this one won the best one for me, and her value is already going up as we speak. You need 8,000 or 9,000 yen to get your hands on this figure of Hoshikawa Sora if you were to start looking for one today. And also, once again, sadly, there are not many user pictures of this figure. I have no idea what is going on because I thought Niji Sanji is pretty popular for a VTuber character. Not to mention something this well made, this high quality, and people are overlooking it. Kind of sad, really. I think this one is an exclusive, which is partly why she can be quite hard to get your hands on. Yeah, let's take a look. 20 centimeters tall, 5,500 yen, came out in October. There were some people which complained about her finger, but based on what I saw, not really a big issue. Yeah, not many people are selling it. Only Ninin Game has it for 7,500 yen. So I don't think this figure is easy to get your hands on. And that is all for best 3 affordable figures of the year. The last section of today's video, the best 5 figures I have purchased this year, and I have reviewed every single one of them on this channel, right? I don't buy many figures in 1 year. I average only 1 to 2 skill figures a month on average, so I buy no more than 15 or 20 figures in 1 year. So choosing the best 5 wasn't too difficult, and out of the best 5, 3 of them are from FGO. Okay, so let's move on to the first one, 1x7 skill Canis from FGO. Yeah, Lancer class servant. This is made by Good Smile Company, going for 24,000 yen, but I paid around 20,000 yen for this one, which was an absolute bargain. Now, this figure of Canis, in my review, I said her face is a 10 out of 10. Her face is excellent. Her face is really well executed. I think it couldn't get any better than that. And despite this figure of Canis coming with a fairly simple base, it is a very attractive one. And overall, the pose is really attractive. I have always been a fan of these body turn around poses. I love them so much. And I'm really glad to see a FGO figure being executed so well with this pose over here. This is extremely photogenic for photography reasons as well. And I'm looking forward to do photography work with dioramas with this Canis sometime in year 2024. The second one would be Murasaki Shikibu from FGO as well. This is by Alter. Okay, this figure technically came out in late December 2022, but I bought her sometime in March, right? In March in 2023. So it is something I bought this year. I'm putting her in the top 5 best because I love this figure of Shikibu so much. Just that there was one problem with this figure where her neck was loose when I took her out from the box, and then I detached one of her hair strands which was supposed to be glued to her shoulder over here. But that was my fault. I was acting a bit too impulsively. I think I used too much force. But outside of that, there were virtually no flaws on this figure. The paintwork on this is typical Alter quality. It is exquisite. And I'm really looking forward to the rider class version of Shikibu from Alter, which is 1x6 skill and really expensive. I'm looking forward to pick that one up. But this caster version, I love her so much. The face is also done really well. Like, it is Alter we're talking about, right? Nothing can go quite wrong. Not necessarily the case, because Alter does have one figure which made it into my worst figures of the year. That is for another video though, right? But I'm giving you a bit of spoiler over here. Yeah, Alter did make a figure which made it into my infamous worst of the year list. We will talk about that 2 days later. But for now, this figure of Shikibu, if you can get one for a discount, which I did as well, pick one up. This is worth buying, right? This gothic feel is really rare in FGO universe. The only one I can think of at the moment is Abigail Williams. The third one, I think you guys saw this one coming, right? Ultra Pentagon Lancer from Eastream and Shibuya's Campbell figure. Some of you will hate the base so much. Some of you will not mind it because you have the space, or you think this figure of Ultra is really majestic. For me, I love this figure so much because there is nothing quite wrong with it. I think the base felt a bit too cheaply made. It is just hollow ABS plastic, but outside of that, this figure is like rock solid and definitely the most stable figure I've reviewed this year, right? The figure is firmly plugged into the base on both legs and also on the back, one of the capes over there. Not to mention, the paintwork on this figure is virtually flawless. outside of the very tip of the spear appearing slightly bent or curved from certain viewing angles. Yeah, this one is like 95% perfection. Some of you will prefer the Good Smile version, of course, the one where she is riding on a horse. But I'm not sure what to think about that one huge metal rod coming out from the center of the horse over there. Yeah. So in the end, I chose to pick this one instead. The next one, Asuna Ichinose from Blue Archive by Max Factory. I think you guys saw this one coming as well. If you watched my reviews, I was very transparent with how much I loved the face and the sculpt of this figure. Yeah. So this figure of Asuna to me is still the best figure of Asuna out there, better than the one by Good Smile which went on pre-order. Yeah, the one where she is sitting on a desk in the casino. I like the face on this one a lot more, and there is really nothing quite wrong with this figure. One really nice thing about this figure is that every hair strand lies flat on the floor. There are no parts that are distorted or curving up, though that base, that fluffy base, certainly does help in concealing that if there is any. Just that if there is one weakness with this figure of Asuna is that she is not plugged into the base, so it is fairly easy to knock over the figure. But regardless, because of the craftsmanship and level of quality of this figure of Asuna, a bunny girl figure, yeah, I'm nominating her as my best 5 purchases this year. And the last one, I'm not sure if you guys saw this one coming, because this is actually a dude shell from Genshin Impact made by Apex Toys. Yeah. So this figure of Shell, I normally don't collect figures of male characters, but because I know Genshin stuff is really popular, I wanted to review one, so I picked one up myself, and you know, Apex Toys certainly did not disappoint. Out of the 5 figures I just listed as my best purchases this year, do you know which one has the best paintwork in terms of the lack of quality control issues, the precision and everything? The best paintwork, it is Shell. Not the other 4 Japanese figures, you see. The one with the best paintwork is this one, actually, this figure of Shell. Just that he is not my favorite purchase this year simply because he is a dude, right? But I'm trying to be really objective over here as much as I can. Now, if you have not watched my review on this figure, even though you may not be interested in a male character figure, like you never buy one, like me most of the time, go and check out the videos I put up on this figure. Like every single close-up view of this figure, from his mask to his waist and everything else, look at the paintwork. Man, Apex Toys deserves a lot of your respect. Like, they are among the best figure brands out there already. I would even put them in top 10. Along the lines of Amakuni, Alter. Yeah, they are not Alter or Amakuni level yet, but they are approaching. They are above Kotobukiya. They are above even Good Smile in some cases. Yeah, they are just that good. And I have not reviewed many Apex Toys figures this year. I think Xiao was the only one. But if you want to know what their quality is like, what their craftsmanship is like, go and check out my review on Xiao. It is worth it for any Genshin collector who also collect dudes, right? And that concludes EXkurogane Awards for Best Figures of the Year. Now, while I am trying to be really objective over here, I know that what is considered best is something subjective at the same time. If you go out and ask another 10 different YouTubers on which one is their favorite or their best figure of the year, every single one of them will give you a different answer, because we all have our own taste, our own preferences, right? And that is the beauty of the hobby. Everyone is different, and that is why we share our hobbies, our figures with everyone online. So what do you think about today's video? Let me know down in the comments below which figure you bought this year. Is your favorite one, your best one? Share it with me. I would love to hear it from you in the comments section. And until then, if you enjoyed this video, please do give this video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content every week. Until then, I'll see you guys in 2 days, this Friday, for the worst figures of the year, right? Thank you very much and goodbye.